Hi everyone, Victoria here, and I want to try a new format as I've been getting some questions and wanted to provide some insight on what I would think if I was in a similar position. So one question is, I'm in architecture school, should I learn Rhino or should I learn Autocad, Sketchup, Revit, or what is the type of software that I'd recommend in school? So I'd start off this question by thinking about, you think about the advantages of each software. And to summarize, I would say, for example, Rhino, it's really good when it comes to free form, angular, organic geometry. It can do 2D and 3D modeling, so it can kind of do both. It can kind of be all in one when it comes to designing. But that being said, it has probably a little bit of a higher learning curve compared to other software like maybe Blender or SketchUp. SketchUp, on the other hand, I would say is very easy to learn, but it's probably not as good when it comes to 2D. That being said, you probably still could use it for 2Ds, but oftentimes in the workflows, you might bring line work into AutoCAD from SketchUp and then clean it up, or into Illustrator and do that, right? So I would say maybe less of an all-encompassing software, but again, SketchUp is pretty common and easy to learn. Next, there's Revit. Definitely harder to learn, steeper learning curve, probably harder to do organic or angular geometry unless you're really like technically skilled and kind of devoted in learning that craft. Otherwise, people I find stick to some of the default settings in Revit, and it's pretty limiting when it comes to design, because sometimes I find students limit their ideas to what they can achieve in the software, and I'd rather find the tools that can illustrate the ideas that I have in my mind, right? So don't let the software control what you do in your project. And then lastly, AutoCAD, very common, industry standard. I would say it's somewhat easy to learn, but it's a 2D program for the most part, so that'd be one of the downsides. You'd probably do 2D work on AutoCAD and then bring it into some sort of 3D modeling software from there. Next, I would think about, understand the time you have to learn certain software, right? You only have so much time as a student, and ultimately you still want to complete your project, right? So maybe you just want to learn one for now and then do your project in that, and then think about, you can redo your studio project in another program, and then that way you don't have to learn a program while you're designing as well. Also know your design style, right? And the best software kind of suited to that. If you really like organic forms, maybe don't learn Revit at first, because you're going to have really uphill battle in terms of like learning how to do that, versus like Rhino is a bit, again, more free form. It's a bit easier to do that. So again, if you know your design style and the things that you like to create, it might kind of push you towards one software or the other. And relate to that, maybe know where you want to work and their related design style, right? Try to do some research. If you know you want to work at, say, like a Zaha Hadid office, they do like a lot of like organic forms, then they might be using like a Rhino or Maya, or like something, a little bit different than maybe your local architecture office that does a lot of like construction drawings, and maybe they use AutoCAD and Revit. I don't know, but do some research there in terms of like where you might want to work and what the appropriate softwares are. But last thing I would say is, ultimately you want to learn one software to start, and you're going to want to be pretty adaptable, right? So wherever you're working, you're going to want to use the software programs that they're using. So if you're jumping between internships, you might have to learn a variety of different programs. And again, it should be fairly straightforward. Once you learn one, you can jump into the others. So try to be flexible, try to work within the workflows of the different offices you're in, and then that'll be often like the best case. Let me know, what are your thoughts? What's your go-to software if you're in architecture school or if you're in the profession, and why? Would you have any other suggestions or tips? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, subscribe if you want more content when it comes to architecture, real estate, and development. We're hoping to post more content in the near future.